to wake up in the morning to the quiet of the cove and hear Aunt Bessie talking to herself, and to hear poor Uncle John mumbling wishes to O'Nell. It made me feel like everything was fine. I was born down by the water, it's here I'm gonna stay. I've searched for all the reasons why I should go away, but I haven't got the thirst for all those modern day toys, so I'll just take my chances with those saltwater joys. Following a little brook as it trickles to the shore in the autumn when the trees are flaming red, kicking leaves that fall around me, watching sunset paint the hills. It's all I'll ever need to feel at home. This island that we cling to has been handed down with pride by folks who fought to live here, taking hardships all in stride. So I'll compliment her beauty, hold on to my goodbyes, and I'll stay and take my chances with those saltwater joys. How can I leave those mornings with the sunrise on the cove and the gulls like flies surrounding Clayton's Wharf? Platter's Island wrapped in rainbow in the evening after fog. The ocean smells are perfume to my soul. Some go to where the buildings reach to meet the clouds, where warm and gentle people turn to swarming faceless crowds. So I'll do without their riches, glamour and the noise, and I'll stay and take my chances with those saltwater joys. Some go to where the buildings reach to meet the clouds, where warm and gentle people turn to swarming faceless crowds. So I'll do without their riches, glamour and the noise, and I'll stay and take my chances with those saltwater joys.
Good evening and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight, our stories are Volunteer Week, the Come On Year meeting, Earth Day festivals, Internet. Please stay tuned for these stories after this. Try your luck on Wednesday and play TV Bingo, sponsored by Burgeo Academy. Cards are 6 for $5 and can be bought from any student of Burgeo Academy or in most stores around town. The week of April 15th to the 21st was Volunteer Week. If you are a part of an organization in which you volunteer your time and talents, thank you. I particularly want to thank all of my BVS volunteers who are there for me, giving me an helping hand. As part of the Volunteer Week celebrations, the CYN and CIS coordinator held a social for the volunteers down at the school. I was invited over to get a few clips of them having a good time. They were playing games after having a nice lunch. When the games were over, Mr. Penny had a few words to say, and certificates were passed out.
On behalf of students and teachers and staff, I want to thank everyone for their continued support and dedication, hard work, time, and so on. Obviously what you do is for the kids, and it's certainly greatly appreciated. We don't do it enough, or we don't say it enough, but thank you very much, and hopefully you'll keep coming back. And certainly thanks to Amy and Trish for this evening, and with the food and all that. I know you didn't make it, but it was good.
Okay, Judy Pink. And it says on the bottom, you make a difference on school days. More than 16,000 children and youth from Newfoundland Labrador participate in these smart funds. And you're serving one of 16,000. Lori Ann Chance. Amanda Fever. This will be Friday's group, you know. Come from the back up. Leona Strickland. Trudy Powell. Tripina Randall. Krista Anderson. Marie Rose. Margaret Day. Kim Bryce.
You got price on it?
I do have Price. Power. Catherine Duncan. Paulette.
Sorry, I'm loungers. I'm not really formal because I'm like at Obama.
This is Don. What do you want to take?
We can take it here 211.
Yeah, you certainly can.
Hang it, Don.
This is Karen Sibley. Florence Courtney. Lee Spencer. Sarah Seymour. Ellen Swift. Denise. Mary Anderson. Pauline, did you want to take Mary's as well?
Please don't take a cake. Just take a cake.
Rosie Buffin. Last but not least, Catherine Bundy. Oh, absolutely. I was going to say that. And I also have one for Amy. Thank you, Amy. I did one for Floss as well. Floss plays a very important part in our program behind the scenes. She's the lady with the dollars and cents. She tells us when we're spending right and wrong. We'll give her one of those. Mr. Penny and staff as well. If you would kindly accept this Apple Award on behalf of our
The
staff.
meeting was held on Wednesday, April the 18th, to see if enough were interested in forming a committee to plan a come-home year for 2008. There were 12 people present. This was not nearly enough people to form such a committee. During some discussion around the table, it was stated that there are at least 50 organizations in this community to become involved. If more interest is not shown, then no committee will be formed and there will not be a come-home year for 2008. This is very disappointing news as everyone will be expecting it in 2008 which will be 10 years from the last one we had. If you or your organization would like to see a come home year in 2008, please get involved. An Earth Day festival was held on the weekend of April 21st. Activities were carried out through all of Saturday, where some were taking place in the community center in the morning.
Kelsey, how are you? And why don't you tell me what you're painting on your rock? And a sun, a nice environment picture. That looks pretty cool.
And others taking place in the rec center in the afternoon.
So why don't you guys tell me what you guys have set up here?
Looks like a lemonade.
A Kool-Aid stand? You guys are raising money for the Janeway. That's a really caring thing to do.
Yeah.
Does that make you guys feel good? Helping out people that could use your help?
You know, I was in jail by one day.
How much is it for a glass of Kool-Aid? $5?
Say sure, but why should you want to give us
That's expensive.
We'll take the money.
Later that evening, an award ceremony was held with music by the Knockabouts, which consisted of Derek Mercer, Tom Cutler, and Stacy Pink. June Escott hosted the award ceremony, as some individuals were recognized for their outstanding volunteer efforts.
Someone else who's been very supportive of my ideas since I moved home is Michelle Mercer. She does a lot of work in the community, but she also goes above and beyond and certainly dedicates a lot of volunteer time as well. And we wanted to recognize her. Throughout the weekend that she's been working with me, we had planned that we would certainly thank her as a volunteer with us, but it has also come to us from other people that she is an outstanding volunteer in the community, and we would like to recognize Catherine Bungie. Town of Burgeo and local businesses sponsored a lot of these prizes, as well as Living Planet, Riffs, and some other people that we'll mention. But for now,
During the singing portion of the night, a couple of special guests also got up and performed.
King and he was all a bird on a ship, the
The night concluded with a free family dance hosted by Route 480.
Music stops, I walk you to your door. Say goodnight like 1,000 times before. This is the night I just can't walk away. No, this is the night I need you even more. Why should we wait till tomorrow? Whoa, whoa. Why should we wait till tomorrow? Whoa, whoa. I can't wait till tomorrow. Oh, I need you tonight. Drive away, but you're still on my mind. It's getting so hard, leaving you behind. Well, this is the night I just want you to know. Oh, 'cause this is the night I just can't let you go. Why should we wait till tomorrow? Whoa, whoa. Why should we wait till tomorrow? Oh, oh. I can't wait till tomorrow. Oh, I need you tonight. Why should we wait till tomorrow? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why should we wait till tomorrow? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I can't wait till tomorrow. Oh, I need you tonight. 'Cause I need you tonight. 'Cause I need you tonight.
We have an update on our internet upgrades. This concludes our programming for tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Maxie.
What can you tell us about our internet upgrades?
Well, they're in full progress. The guys came in, the engineers came in on the week of March 26th, and they began the internet upgrade. They changed the routers and switches in Rose Blanche, Grand Brit, here in Burgeo, and they did half the work in Ramya. When we got in Ramya, we discovered that there was a problem with how we were planning on doing the upgrade, and that if we continued going the way we were going, that we would have cut off the internet to either Grey River or Francois, and it would have stayed gone until sometime in mid-May, and we weren't willing to do that, so we had to regroup and change our plans. One of the problems that came up was we could not get on the mountaintop of Grey River because of all the snow and stuff, so the guys stopped doing the upgrade halfway through of what they were doing in Ramya in order to keep Grey River and Francois going, and right now they're scheduled to be back in here on the week of the 14th of May. I've already been on the mountaintop. I just came back this week on the mountaintop of Grey River, and I've put in new solar panels and wind generators in order to accommodate the new equipment that's going up there. And that was another problem, that the new equipment meant we needed more energy, more power, so we need to put up some more solar panels and wind generators. So that's already waiting for the equipment. When it puts it in place, that the system should run no problem at all. Okay? But one of the reasons that we started doing the upgrade was whatever was happening in all the towns were affecting all the other towns. And so what we're seeing now is what's happening in Grey River and Franceway and in Ramsey is still affecting what's happening here in Burgess. So although we're seeing some improvement on the network, that's not finished because all the equipment's not in place and the engineers can't complete it, right? And one of the things that happened was when the guys changed their equipment, they just changed the main equipment that's up in the towers. All the software and all the radios that are in people's houses needed to be, new software needed to be put in, and they had to be programmed to point towards the new equipment. So after they left, we started changing the configuration in those radios to point towards the new equipment and all that stuff. We did that remotely, and that took a fair bit of time. But in the time frame from when they left to about 2 weeks or so, that all the equipment was pointing to equipment that wasn't there anymore, and it really caused the internet to slow right down. And on top of that, we had the kids home for Easter breaks, and they were on the internet as well. So it made for a really congested time, and the internet was really, really bad. The other thing, since the kids went back to school, there's not as much traffic, and I've got configuration in the radios, and things seem to be working better. But we still have some customers out there that have faulty radios. So we always remind people to have a look at the lights, right? So I've talked about the power light, the wireless link light, Ethernet light, low, medium, or high, and at best, or at worst I should say, the power light needs to be on, the wireless link light needs to be on, and the low light needs to be on. So if those lights are not on, you're not going to get on the internet. So if you're having trouble getting onto the internet, one of the first things you should do is check these guys. And we also have this flavor of radio. So this particular radio, cable goes in the bottom, power light, low, medium, or high, and you must have at least the low light. If the low light is blinking, then your internet connection is not going to be working. So that's one of the first things to check. But even though we're doing the upgrade, you should still have internet. And yes, when there's a pile of people on the internet in the evening times and on the weekends when the kids are out of school and stuff, that it does still slow down because we're not finished doing the upgrades. But if those lights are not on, it doesn't matter, your internet's not going to work at all. So one of the first things when somebody calls me and says, "Listen, my internet's not working right," one of the first questions I ask is, what lights are on your radio, so that we can judge it. So up here is essentially our network, and we've got the upgrade done from, not much is completed. So we've got the biggest section of the network upgraded. This here is left to be done. So when the guys come back in the week of May 14th, they'll put in the new routers and switches in the places, and once they go, the same thing, I'm going to have to sit down and program all the radios, do them all remotely, and get everything all set up, make sure everything's all working right. One of the things that I talked about in the past is that in the radios in the tower, right now, we have approximately 40 customers off of every radio. When the upgrade is done, we will have the ability to put up more radios in the tower, which means we will bring the number down from 40 customers on a radio to less than 30. So that should, in addition to all the upgrades that the engineers have planned, there's other upgrades that we're planning on doing. So in the previous interview that myself and George Reed did, that we indicated that we hope to have everything done by the end of May. And if the engineers get the equipment in here for the 14th of May, like they're suggesting, so, and we get the upgrades done in, finish Ramsey, get Grey River done and Franceway done, configure all the radios, get back to Burgeo, and then we will be able to put more radios in the tower if the weather permits and stuff. And as things are looking right now, we've got all the equipment that we need from this side of it ready to go, so that we put more radios up in the tower, another radio in Foxford, more radios here in West Montreal, and we are still on par for our target date of having everything completed by the end of May. And now, if it comes raining for the last 2 weeks and we can't get up the tower, then might cause some headaches. But right now, we're still on par for the end of May, like we had previously indicated. Right? At the same time, we'd like to express our appreciation for the patience that it's taken a little longer, not longer, it is on par from what we had said in the beginning. It's frustrating when everyone kind of expect immediate results, but the fact of the matter is that everything is all still interconnected, and what's happening down in the smaller communities down in Great River and France is still affecting what's happening up here, and the engineers don't have all the configurations done in all the files. So that I'm talking to a few people around that they're kind of expected to see gradual or better results now, but the fact of the matter is that it's still impacting the network, and until we actually get the work done on the week of May 14th and get the additional radios up in the tower, then we're still stuck with 40-odd customers on a radio, and we still have the same problems that we had before, isolated, but it's still to talk to a fair number of people out there that in the mornings the internet's fine, late at night it's fine, but when the crowd gets on there it slows down. So we're hoping to fix that. And at the same time, that I have to reiterate that I've been in several people's homes and their internet is not working well, or on their computers, and I've hooked my laptop up and my laptop works fine. So I have to impress upon the people that you still have to be vigilant with antivirus software, spy bots, and adware and stuff along those lines. So you got to make sure you get your updates all done on your computer. Make sure the temporary files are cleaned out and that your computer is functioning properly. So yes, we acknowledge that there is a problem with our network and we're doing our upgrade. But even when the upgrade is done, if you have a virus on your computer or your computer is filled up with spyware, it doesn't matter if you have fiber optics to your house. It's still, your computer is not going to work as well as it should. So we're doing our part. So I think it's important that the people do their part as well, and make sure the computers are in good working order. Software is cleaned up, the spyware and adware and stuff like that. But in the interim, one of the things that I need to say is that since we started our upgrade, your internet should be at least no worse than it was before we started. If it's worse than before we started, then there's something wrong either with the radio in your house or something wrong with your computer as such. So remember to look at your lights and make sure that all the proper lights are on, because we've had problems with radios. We've got another shipment in, we're changing it, radios in customers' houses and stuff. And same thing, we've had people with damaged antennas with water in their antennas and stuff along those lines. So whether the upgrade is done or not, that's still going to affect if your computer's on the internet or if it's working properly. So that's the important things to have a look at, right? So other than that, appreciate your patience and hopefully that we have everything all cleared up in a month's time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dave, for giving us a good update.
You're welcome.